is life worse now for us than it was for our parents? That's a big question to ask, and I think, unfortunately, the answer is yes. And we can actually demonstrate this quantitatively. I can show you some evidence, and that's what I'm going to try and do to prove that we're actually not as well off as folks say in 1989 were, that were our age. Peter Turchin, in his book Ages of Discord, has 4 ways of measuring what quality of life is like in a given era. So he determines how much people are getting paid. It's very complicated how he does that, but he ultimately comes up with this thing called the Economic Well-Being Index. He uses average stature, or in other words, height, which I thought was really interesting. What he's trying to show is that people who are receiving better nutrition tend to be taller to a certain level, and taller people, again, to a certain level, tend to live longer. They're just healthier. And if you're healthier, that means you're getting better food, and probably your quality of life is better. You've probably heard it said that people in North Korea are actually shorter than people in South Korea, and part of that is due to poor nutrition, right? So that would be one indicator that the quality of life of people in North Korea is lower than that of people in South Korea. So we have how much folks are getting paid, average stature. We have life expectancy, which has actually waxed and waned throughout United States history, and it's actually on a bit of a decline right now. Our life expectancy is not as high as it used to be, and there are a number of factors contributing to that, and we'll address that later. And finally, the age at first marriage. Now, when people choose to get married is an indicator of whether or not they feel stable, whether they have hope for the future and want to raise children, and whether or not they feel like society essentially is worth contributing to. That they want to build a family in this way. That requires a level of trust in what's going on in the world to say, hey, my world isn't going to fall apart, we're not near revolution, and so forth. So those are the 4 factors Peter Turchin uses to determine what the quality of life in a given era is like. And so we want to start, let's just begin by talking about wages. And it's very complicated how he works all of this out. I'm not going to go into the math because I frankly don't think it makes a good video. But he ends up with what he calls the Economic Well-Being Index. And what he determines is that from 1800 at least, maybe even from the founding of the country till 1830, people were making more money, and there was growth in how much people were getting paid. And then from 1830 to 1910, it was a decline. And then from 1910 to 1960, there was another substantial increase. And now we're again in a decline. And what I want to do is show you actually how people, so compared to 30 years ago, we are better educated. Millennials are better educated, and they're making less money than people 30 years ago. And I will show you why that's the case in my next video.